Adriana Rupp is an experienced educator with over 20 years of service. She holds a Master's of Arts degree in Human Development and Social Responsibility, and is a specialist in pedagogic coordination. Currently, she works as the General Academic Coordinator at ACBEU, Bahia. So, please join me in welcoming her with an applause.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for staying, right? We are fast approaching the end of this convention, right? So you're sticking here, so thank you very much. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. I'd like each one of you to think about a number that is meaningful to you, that is important to you. I will give you 30 seconds. Just think about this number. Okay, do you have a number? Yes? So what I would like you to do is the following. Tell the person sitting next to you the number. And the person is going to try to guess why this number is important. Okay? Just say the number and the person guesses. Okay? Go for that. All right? Do you still need 1 minute? Just talk to the person sitting next to you. That's okay. All right, guys. Time is up. I will tell you my number, okay? And I'd like you to guess why this number is important to me. My number is 75. So why is it important? Because it is Aquibeu's anniversary. We have just turned 75 and we are going to be celebrating this occasion this coming week. Right? But who is Aquibeu, right? Do you know where Aquibeu is? It's in Salvador. What else? Okay, it's in Salvador. Where is Salvador? It's in Bahia, in Brazil, in the northeast part of the country. But I'd like to invite you to watch a quick video that we prepared to tell you a little bit about our binational center.
'cause you make me feel like I'm alive again. Oh, you make me feel like I'm alive again. To me magical, and then she'd say everything you want to dream away. Under this pressure, under this weight, we are diamonds taking shape. We are diamonds taking shape.
Throughout our history, Akibio has always invested heavily in training and teacher development. Actually, this is also one of our values. We truly believe in continuous development. We also consider it important because it's kind of difficult to get good teachers in Brazil, so investing in in-house training is a way to get good teachers. And we have always done a lot of work in terms of investment in teacher development. The result of this investment is that we have always had well-qualified teachers, recognized not only by the students but also by their parents, and most important of all, by the teachers themselves. And we keep on looking at our teacher development program, and as Thais Ladowski said in one of her presentations in this conference, no school is ever ready, complete. We are always rethinking, revisiting, and it is a work in progress. And with Akibio is no different, right? So we are always revisiting, we are always looking at ourselves, and we are always trying to make things better. And in a certain moment, we decided to look at our program, and we came across this framework of professional development. Professional development can be done on different ways, right? One way to do professional development is the individual work, right? It's one-to-one, class observations, talking to teachers, right? And it is interesting doing this way. As you can see there, it's, I can't read from here. It's not dip level, it's dip level, sorry, and I can't read it from here. Can you help me out here? Can you see?
Sure. Deep level of understanding, dependent structure.
Right. Right, and the other one is school-wide. As you can see, you have one facilitator to all of the teachers, and then it's one time you present it to the mass, right? Group presentations, basic level of understanding, right? And it's a very dependent structure. The other one is group professional development. And then you have a kind of matrix there. It's dynamic, regular, it's needs-based group learning, deep level of understanding, flexible support, and independent structure. When we came across this framework, we noticed and we realized that we were favoring the two first models, the individual and school-wide model of development. And as we had this one-size-fits-all format of training, right? So the types of activities that we used to offer were lectures, workshops, class observation, right, and individual meetings. And we had different training moments, for example, in-service, study day, seminars, and of course, class observations. And the content was pretty much defined top-down. The academic department would get together and define what the topic should be worked on. Okay, we need teachers to be more aware of the use of technology, so let's talk about that. We need teachers to do more peer work, so let's work on that, and seating arrangement. So we would decide and teachers would go to the seminars and workshops and the activities we offered. We had been having bad results with that in a way, right? Because teachers would sometimes complain because we have a varied group of teachers. Some of them are very mature, some of them are novice teachers. So if you have the same kind of training or the same kind of development activity for everyone, some of them are going to like, some of them are not going to like it, right? Some teachers complained of tiredness, some teachers said didn't notice the meaning of the training, and there was lack of motivation sometimes and lack of enthusiasm. So the result of that, it was frustrating in a way because we had a lot of investment, but the results were not that good, right? Even though the teachers felt that they were well prepared because we have lots of hours of training and development. One evidence of these results we collected when we carried out an in-service session in December 2013. Of course, the teachers didn't only complain about the training, right? Some of them really liked it, they gave good feedback and nice suggestions, but some of them said things like, the in-service was tiring due to the number of hours. The in-service should be tailored to teachers' needs. There should be an interview with each teacher where an action plan would be devised. We could have welcome breaks from the traditional lecture format. Oh, too much information. I am exhausted. And professional development should be encouraged and rewarded, not imposed. So when we saw all these comments, right, among other good comments, a red light was on, right? And we decided that we had to reshape our teacher development program. So why did we start to reshape our professional development program? First of all was the in-service in December 2013, and in which we collected this feedback, right? In 2013, we also had a group of teachers who organized a committee, and they would come to us to discuss their needs, their demands, their complaints. And in those meetings, lots of them complained about our teacher development. They said that we could improve it. It was okay, it was nice, they were learning, but it was tiring. It was too much information, so maybe we could re-adapt it, rethink it. One other thing that was important was that during the years of 2014 and 2015, Aquibeo contracted a consulting company named Fundação Dom Cabral, which is a very nice company, and they don't consider themselves a consulting company, but they consider themselves a school of business. And they helped us a lot in terms of reflecting about our practices, reflecting about our objectives, reflecting about the things we were doing, right? And then we decided that one of our strategic goals was to look at our plan for teacher development, for continuous development, and to reorganize it. One other thing that was added to this plan there was the career profession plan that we devised with another consulting company named Valley. In this progression plan, we decided to look at all the functions that we have at Aquibeo and to describe each one of them, to see what the skills are, what are the activities that the people are in charge of. So it was a very nice work that we did with this company, and we had all these elements together, and we said, okay, we need to reshape our professional development. And as Lúcia Santos said yesterday or the day before yesterday, right, the world has changed dramatically. Education today is about teaching to a changing world. So our teachers have to be able to cope with that. So if students need to have more control over their learning, let alone teachers. And we need to give teachers voice. So we decided that we had to rethink and to put together a new training and development plan that we called Plano CD, because in Portuguese it means Plano de Capacitação e Desenvolvimento. Just to give you an overview, nowadays Aquibeo has around 4,500 students, and we employ at the moment 65 teachers with different levels of expertise. So, with this in mind, we decided to create a plan, right, a development plan that would help teachers actually develop and to respect teachers' differences. So, our definition is the following. What is it all about? The Plano CD is a 5-year implementation project. We started 2 years ago, so it's still a work in progress. And this project aims at encouraging teachers to pursue their professional growth and individual development, taking in consideration their needs in alignment with the demands of the institution. And we consider that really important because sometimes the teacher might want to take a course or maybe a master course, and this is not a demand of the institution, right? So we have to say, hey, great, this is wonderful, go for that. But this is not part of the plan of this school, right? So the more you develop, the better. But we have limited resources, so we have to focus on things that are good for the teachers, but that are relevant to the institution as well. So, the objectives of our plan were give teachers the opportunity to assess themselves, contrasting their perception with the criteria defined by the institution regarding teaching competences and skills. Set a framework to enable teachers to identify their level of expertise and guide individual development initiatives. Create formal opportunities between teachers and coordinators to discuss specific training and development needs. It is funny because during the conferences we listen to other colleagues talking about things, and they add to what we already have in mind, right? And I will mention Lucy's presentation again because she talked about metacognition. And in her presentation, she said things about the students that we can certainly apply to teachers. When she mentioned that students have to take charge of their learning, we can say that teachers also have to take charge of their learning. She also said that students have to be aware of their learning process. Teachers also have to be aware of their learning process. Lucy also said that teachers have to be involved, engaged, and teachers as well, right? So other objectives that we have for this plan are the following. Guarantee transparency regarding skills and competency criteria, stimulating professional growth. give coordinators information about teachers' individual and group profile. So the coordinators can have a better and more precise idea of the group of teachers they have, what their needs are, what their expectations are. So the teacher has the coordinator or the supervisor has a better picture. Gather comprehensive data to help identify both individual and group training needs, enhancing the effectiveness of training and developing programs. By getting this information, when we devise the training programs, we have we know what the teachers need, we know what they are expecting, instead of just deciding out of the blue what we are going to do, or based on our perception alone. Offer an additional selection and performance evaluation tool is also one of our objectives. So this plan has 3 main components, and all the acronyms there are in Portuguese due to legal reasons. Brazil has a very, very strict labor law, and strategically we decided to keep all the documents related to this plan in Portuguese. So the first document, the MDP, is called in Portuguese is Mapa de Desenvolvimento Profissional. I'm going to show you these documents in a minute. PAA is Plano de Atividades Anual, so the activities that we are offering to teachers annually. And PA is the Plano de Ação or action plan that each teacher is going to devise for their development. So the MDP, or the Mapa de Desenvolvimento Profissional, as you can see there, we devised this map and we did a benchmark with the European Profiling Grid, the EPG. I don't know if you have heard of this. But we benchmarked the EGP, but we decided we had to discuss a lot to come up with the domains and the descriptors that were valid for Archibald, right? We defined 8 domains: language proficiency, academic background, assessed teaching practice, and this part is still under construction, professional experience in EFL, technical competences, education technology, and administrative procedures. Let me show you this. So, each domain has the descriptors, the specific descriptors related to the domain. So, for example, when you have their proficiency, you have stage A, B, C, and D, and each stage refers to a different level of proficiency. And our idea there was that teachers had first to assess themselves, right? And after they assessed themselves, they would go to their coordinators or supervisors and discuss and validate their assessment, right? After they did that, they would go to the next stage, right? Because then you have an idea. The teachers look at themselves and they see what their strengths are, their weaknesses are, what they need to develop, where they can get, what they need to do. Another important component of this was the annual activity plans that is also under construction. Let me show you. This plan is really a work in progress. Our idea is to have a mini of activities prepared that will show different options for teachers, different options of activities that the teachers can choose. At the moment, we are still implementing it and defining the activities we will offer. But we already have lots of activities being offered, and teachers can already choose the activities they want to attend. So they don't have to take the whole program. They can choose the activities that are going to be relevant to their development, right? One other instrument is the plan of action. This one we decided to do in English, and it's something that I'd like to share with you is that the plan of action is being implemented right now. Today I had a conversation with the coordinators and supervisors from Aquibio, and I asked them how the action plans were coming along, because they are right now talking to each teacher to devise their action plan. So the idea is that the teachers assess themselves. We have a many of activities, and then the teachers are going to look at that, and they are going to build their action plan and decide what they are going to do during that year, right? So they have to say, they have first to say their professional development objective. So I want to, they start and target dates, the actions and steps that they are planning to achieve, the deadlines that they are giving themselves to achieve those objectives. People who may assist them and give them support, the resources that they are going to need, because we need to stimulate them, but we also need to support the teachers in order to help them develop, right? Potential obstacles and problems and ways to minimize them, and evidence. Later, teachers are going to show the evidence that their objectives had or had not been reached, right? The coordinators today told me that the teachers have been very receptive to these conversations. They have been open to devising their action plans, and they are and they are really happy with the opportunity of having this kind of conversation with their coordinators. This is something that is really working well. Now, the Plano CD has to be linked with a career plan, right? And we have some things that have to go together. It's like parts of a machine, right? So we have the Plano CD, which we consider a guide, right? And teachers, with this guide, teachers know where they are, where they want to be, and how they can get there, what they need to do to get to this point where they want to go. But the teacher is the one who takes the journey, right? The institution can help them, can stimulate, but cannot develop for themselves. The teachers are the ones who can develop for themselves. So, the Plano CD has this function of being a guide. We have the career progression plan that is already ready, but we have to devise the policies so that teachers know what the next step is. So when we have all of this together, we are going to have implemented the whole process and the whole plan. Right now, we are on the second year, right? And I would like to share with you some feedback of some teachers after we have been implementing this program and the changes. So, this one here was the feedback given by teacher Ernest, and could somebody read it for me? Any volunteers? So I will read. As a way of facing the new educational challenges, Aquibio has invited my humble self, and of course all the teachers in this renowned institution, to embark on a program of ongoing formation. The complexity of the contemporary world demands reflections, learning, and updating of professionals at different levels, since we are never finished products. Other teachers gave different testimonials, but were really positive, right? So now I have a problem because I can't see it from here. I don't know if this is because I try to be open to learning all the time, because I am in a moment of particular excitement to learn, or maybe both. But the truth is that many of the things I saw, watched, and heard during the sessions that we were carrying on touched me somehow and echoed in my mind and heart. Times are changing much faster than ever, and we must keep up with those changes, or else we will fail irrefutably behind. Having that in mind, Activio has been giving teachers the opportunity to follow this pace of change, and the in-service we have just attended, and this one was in December 2014, so you can compare the differences in terms of feedback with the December 13 in-service sessions, right? Has opened multiple doors to help us tread that track. Another feedback, although the training was demanding, it has helped me to reflect upon my teaching and has also given me tools to start the next semester more encouraged and full of new ideas. I feel the institution is concerned about my professional development, and my intention is to put into practice all the great experience I've learned in my classes. Okay? So, where do we stand now? We divided this Plano CD in 3 phases right now. We had Plano CD 1.0, Plano CD 2.0, and Plano CD 3.0. So the Plano CD 1.0 was the self-assessment phases in which teachers had more autonomy in choosing activities. And I would like to show you. First, the self-assessment. This is a map of the self-assessment, and based on the objectives that we had, in which we wanted to see how the teachers were doing, we could see better the group, their needs and their demands. So we analyzed all the data, and then we can have a picture, a map of the group of teachers we have, and what kind of individual training and development they need, and what kind of what kind of group development they need. So, this is one other instrument. I'd like to share with you the choosing the activities. So our in-services changed a lot. This is a map of an in-service, of the program of one of our in-services. And then we tell teachers, listen, you have to work, you have to decide on the activities you want to take. You don't have to take them all, right? But you have to decide based on your needs and on the school's demands. And phase 1 also, we started implementing what we called the reflection stage, in which teachers had to write learning statements. So after each in-service session, they had to stop, reflect, and think about what they had learned and how they would implement that in their future classes. So here, I have an example of a teacher reflection. It's nothing complicated, it's really simple. It's a 2-page reflection document. And after the teachers write these documents, they have already a plan of action, because they have an idea of what they want to focus on, what they want to do, and how they are going to implement that in their classes. Sorry. We are right now at stage 2, in which teachers are writing their action plans and they are negotiating choices. Because sometimes the teacher might have an idea that he or she needs to develop certain aspects, and the coordinator might have others. So this is the moment in which teacher and coordinator have to negotiate what they are going to do. The third stage, which is coming up soon, is that you're going to have the action plans implemented. And then we are going to start having performance assessments, and we are going to link everything to the career development plan, in which teachers are going to actually get promoted, and they're going to be rewarded as well based on the developments that they achieve. So, some positive outcomes so far. more positive attitude and increased interest towards training. So teachers are more involved. They are more positive about the in-services and the training activities. Teachers increased awareness of development needs. So teachers now know what they come to us and say, oh, listen, I would like to take the EdTech course because I know that I'm not that good in this, right? We don't have to tell them. So teachers have voice, they become more aware. Coordinators increased knowledge of training needs. So the coordinator is also aware of what his staff, his group of teachers needs, and how he's going to invest in terms of training. More cohesive training programs, so instead of deciding, okay, let's work on this and that, we know what we want to do. We have elements to make decisions in terms of the activities that we are going to offer. Identification of potential teacher trainers and coaches among staff members. And gradual pace of implementation, because we decided to implement that throughout a 5-year program. This gradual pace of implementation reduced teachers' stress and resistance to this program. We, of course, have challenges ahead. The change of culture is one of the challenges. The other challenge are legal issues. We have diverse workloads, right? Teachers, I don't know if the same happens in your institutions, but in our binational center, we hire teachers according to the groups that we have. So a teacher may have 20 hours, another teacher may have 25 hours, the other teacher may have 30 hours of work during the week, right? Bank of hours, we work with the bank of hours, so organizing that training in their bank of hours is a puzzle, because we have training and a certain teacher needs 25 hours of training, but he only has 20 hours of training available, right? So we have to make decisions, we have to make choices. Teachers Union in Brazil, right, which is also a challenge. And the collective agreement, right? Because sometimes you want to do certain things and you think they are good for the teachers find they're good, but the union and the agreements don't allow you to do this negotiation, so you get kind of stuck. Selecting and defining the competencies in an objective way was a huge challenge. We had many meetings, lots of discussions to decide on what would be the competencies that we wanted to focus on, right? Because we had to ask ourselves, what makes a good teacher? What makes a good teacher at Aquibeu, right? What do we want them to develop, right? Another challenge is to align the development plan and career plan. That is something that is going to happen in the near future, and this is also another challenge because there are all the legal issues behind it. Differentiation, respecting teachers' differences, and creating a map of activities in which we could cater for different needs of different teachers. In terms of logistics, which is the other challenge, this is really complicated, but it is a challenge and we are working on that. So here is the bibliography we used, the European Profiling Grid. We really recommend you taking a look at it if you don't know this document. And Mercado Leonardo, this is interesting because I attended a conference given by him during the last ABLA in Florianópolis. And after attending his conference and after reading his book and article, we got some great ideas, right? So sharing is always really relevant. And the University of Bradford is also, we have these documents, Learning and Teaching Professional Development and Recognition Scheme also helped us a lot. So, thank you. Any questions? No? Okay, so if you have any questions, if you want to talk about, today is the last day, but we are going to be around. My email is there, right? So please feel free to come and talk. Okay? Thank you very much for your attention, guys.
On behalf of ABLA 2016, we thank you very much for your participation.